Welcome to the NCAA March Madness second round press conference with UCLA. We are joined by Gina Conti, Emily Bessoir, Charisma Osborne, Kiki Rice, and Cameron Brown. We ask that you please only ask a question when you have the microphone in your hand and that you state your name and publication. If you have joined us through Zoom today, please ask your question in the chat and include your publication as well. Thank you, and we will start with questions from the room.
Do you know in LA Times? I feel like we just talked to you guys like 12 hours ago. Gina, what was the last, 12-ish hours like for you guys to kind of put that one to bed and then move on to today?
Yeah, this time of year, it's all about going 1-0, and so we got that win yesterday, and now it's just about we had time to recover, rest, eat a proper dinner, and then wake up, do the same thing, get a good breakfast in, had treatment this morning, came in early to have treatment, and then, now it's just time to execute the game plan. And so we had film, talked about what we need to get done, and that's what we're going to do.
Charisma, what was the message in film then?
I think the message really is just, we talk about it all the time, like defense. Like that is what is going to win us games. So I think that was just mainly the focus in film, and then figuring out, okay, like what is going to work best for us? How can we guard them? How can we maybe like expose some things on their defense that we do really well? So just figuring out like what works best for our team and each player individually.
Emily, yesterday, Charisma and Kiki were joking, like, you have to wear the button now? Because do you believe in the power of the bun? Is that a real thing?
I don't, but I think my teammates do. So I'll just do it for them. Yeah.
It works.
If it works, it works.
Yeah.
What do you think is working so well for you in terms of just your confidence on the court? You're really coming into your own now in this Pac-12 to NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think my team really helps me get that confidence. Like, they know exactly what shots I want to take and what shots I'm good at. And then they even set me up, like, if I'm in action with Charisma or Kiki, like, they know they need to screen like my player, but their player won't leave them, if that makes sense, just as an example. And I think we have great team chemistry, and just we know where we are on the court, and we kind of figured out how we move. So credit to my team to just help me incorporate my strengths.
Cam, obviously Emily's coming back from an ACL injury. You know that injury extremely well. What's it like seeing her come back from that and really have this kind of breakout tournament?
Super proud. I'm like, yes, way to hold it down. It's an injury that no one ever wants to go through, and it feels like the worst, longest 9 months of your life. So I'm just happy that she gets to be out on the court and everybody gets to see just how great she is and just how much she brings to the team. Because I knew that it was going to happen as soon as she started the road to recovery, and I'm like, yeah, she's going to be a breakout star next year. So I'm just happy to see it come to fruition.
And I know you're like the passion play queen.
Might be Lena now.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, like, what's it like having Lena come in and kind of not necessarily challenge, but kind of push the team forward in terms of just increasing all of your passion plays together?
I think it's great. Passion plays just really give us a spark as a team. So for me to go out and Lena come in for me, and that same standard of passion plays and energy is still upheld. I think that's really good, and it just allows any rotation, whoever's in, we're gonna keep up with our passion plays, and we're gonna keep up with the same energy that we may have started the game with. So it's really nice to have her here.
We have a question in the chat from Joe Reedy with the AP. For Kiki and Emily, how much of a challenge is going against Williams and Robertson from OU? And with the Sooners' physical play, are they similar to any team you've faced this year?
Yeah, I think, we talked this morning in Scout about how, they have a lot of shooters. They're going to run on transition very well. And I think we kind of made some comparisons to Utah, who we played in the Pac-12. Everyone on their team can shoot, and we just have to guard the three-point line really well.
Yeah, Kiki kind of said it already, but I think we faced some teams that are kind of similar, such as Utah or Stanford. And physicality, defense, and rebound is just a huge key to the game. But I think we've played people before that bring the same thing to the table.
For Kiki, Coach Corey was talking a lot about how you've had to make a lot of defensive strides this year. So what do you think is the biggest adjustment that you needed to learn to defend at this college level, and how have you improved as a defender?
Yeah, I think, a lot of times if I'm playing off the ball, just like not falling asleep and staying engaged and how to really like learn how to make plays off the ball and not just be a good on-ball defender, but continue to impact the game. And I think that's just something with time and as like just experience in playing games and defending better players through our conference play. I think it's really helped me just hold a high standard every single night.
Okay, we have another question from Joe Reedy with the AP. He says, Coach talked about how tight the team was going into the Pac-12 title game. How much more relaxed are you guys now in the tournament, and how surprised were you guys about Coach suggesting the pre-practice dance parties?
Yeah, well, I think our team, has a lot of energy, and so obviously pre-practice dance parties are something that's really fun. But in general, I think, like with going into like we say March Madness is a new season, anybody gets any type of feeling, so it's how we can internalize the feelings that we're getting, like the butterflies, what Coach Corey said, and every player is going to feel that, so it's like how can we use that to our advantage and really just flipping our mindset. And so that was her example of having us dance to just show that like it's fun, basketball's fun, like we worked hard to get here, it's okay to be present and enjoy the moment, and also just take those feelings that you're feeling to flip them to be good for you. So I think it's fun. I think all of our team thinks it's fun, so yeah.
Emily, were you nervous yesterday? We talked to Charisma and Kiki, and they seemed like totally fine about playing in their first NCAA tournament game of the season.
I think I was more just excited to start like the NCAA tournament. I was a little bit nervous just because we haven't played them before, and like other Pac-12 teams we've faced 2 times before the Pac-12 tournament. But it's more excitement and just ready to go.
Any last questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not good, thank you.
Welcome to the NCAA March Madness second round press conference with UCLA. We are joined by head coach Corey Close. We ask that you please only ask a question when you have the microphone in your hand and that you state your name and publication. If you have joined us through Zoom today, please ask your question in the chat and include your publication as well. Thank you, and we will begin with an opening statement from Coach.
Well, really, obviously in the NCAA tournament, you're just so thrilled to coach your team another day, and we earned another opportunity to pursue going 1-0. And, obviously Oklahoma is a really good team, a great opponent. I've watched, a lot of games, and they're offensively so versatile, so potent. Their ability in transition, obviously their ability to shoot the three. So tons of respect, not only for how they play the game, but for the way that they run their program. They just do a really, really good job. So it's going to be a great matchup, tomorrow night, and excited to be a part of it.
Speaking with the LA Times, you mentioned yesterday, Corey, how you didn't love the way you treated that break between the semifinal and the final. What was the schedule like during that time?
Well, I think that, there was a lot of downtime in the hotel. We didn't want them, going through the, staying off their feet, and because everything was walking, right, at the conference tournament. So I do think we have some other freedoms. We're in our own beds. A lot of our families are here. I think it's really the mental side of the game. It's, really we talked to them about controlling their frame, and what that means to us is having only things in your frame that are under your control. And anything outside of the frame, we try to eliminate whenever we can. And so really had our players write out, what does it look like? What do they need to say yes to? What do they need to say no to? How they need to design their day? What do they need to set their minds on? How many games are healthy for them to watch? I mean, I think it's different individually, and I think they had a chance to sort of learn, okay, what does it look like for me to be ready to play my best? But I think it's much more of a mental and emotional thing than it is, any kind of time thing.
Doing that, like talking about your own frame and what works for you, that doesn't necessarily sound like a bad thing that they kind of focused on. So
well, I think that when we were there, we actually did let things come into our frame. I think that this is a very driven group. This is not a group I have to worry about motivation for. They wanted it. It's a matter of how did they handle pressure, and when they felt, we call it a state change. Everyone's going to feel the moments differently, and when you start to feel that state change, like there's a lot on the line here. I've never done this before. And, they had so much attention after the Stanford win, and, I think we really tried hard to make sure we didn't get too high. That, we didn't go to the Pac-12 tournament to beat Stanford. We went to the Pac-12 tournament to try to win it. And so what do we learn from all those experiences? But I don't think we did a great job, honestly, of staying in our frame. I think we did let outside things sort of add maybe too much weight to the moment, and we didn't have enough tools to know how to process that and how to feel that out.
So now one game through, one game done in the NCAA tournament, when you look at your players, how do you see them handling their frame now and kind of trying to keep things out?
Well, I think, even right after the game last night, we talked about, okay, how do we apply what we learned? And Coach Tasha, who is our mental conditioning sort of liaison, talked about this is where we have to apply some of the tools that are in our toolbox about staying in the frame, getting to neutral, understanding how you process moments. And so we're trying to, now we had all those discussions and how that time and what did we learn? How do we prepare differently? It's sort of awareness, attack, and there's another A, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But, okay, so what does that look like right now? And how do we apply that? And she had each player write it down. And it is very individualized. We all process these things differently. But I do think the experience at the Pac-12 tournament gave us language that sorted how to put ourselves in the best position for peak performance, at least from a mental and emotional standpoint.
When you look at them now, do you think they just look like they're in the right mental state?
Yeah, I do. I think they're going to be, I think that's what makes March Madness so fun, right? Is that there are going to be those pressurized moments. And pressure is a privilege, and pressure makes diamonds, and all those things. Everything you want is on the other side of hard. To steal, Coach Monty's, from the Phoenix Sun statement. And I think that just knowing that pressure, you are going to feel that. You want it bad. We've been preparing for months and months, and for our freshman classes, this is something they've been dreaming about doing. You heard Kiki talk about it yesterday. She's been dreaming to play in March Madness her whole life, and now she's here, and to keep that, like, this is really fun, and you've worked really hard to get here. And so to trust in your process, to trust in your training. This is not a group where I have to go, well, if only you'd worked harder. I don't have to do that. This group works hard. They want it with and for each other. And so it's now a matter of, the whole Navy SEALs sentence that you don't sink to the level of, the adversity or the level of anything else. You sink to the level of your training. And when the heat comes, we have trained really well this year, and to really rely on that process.
Okay, we have questions from Joe Reedy with the AP. How much of a challenge is it going against Williams and Robertson? And is Oklahoma similar to any opponent you faced this year? It seems like there are similarities to Stanford.
I would say a combination of Stanford and Utah. They don't have a big rim protector the way Stanford does, but they love to shoot the three and transition game the way Utah does. They're sort of a combination of those teams. And we talked a lot about defending the first 7 seconds of the shot clock because they're just so good. And when you look at their shot chart, I mean, the way that they attack up the right side of the floor in transition and then, skip to the other side of the floor, the success that they have with just that action is, over 50% of their offense. It's remarkable how quickly they attack in transition and how well they find shooters out. So, both Williams but it's not just them. Obviously it's a luxury to have two 2,000-point scorers on your team. Those guys have earned that, and they're spectacular, and that's going to be one of our keys is to make their touches difficult and to defend them really well. But they're not one of the top offensive teams in the country just because of those two. They've got a lot of weapons who know how to stretch the floor, who are versatile. So I'm worried about a lot of things in terms of stopping them. But it starts, I think, with transition D, and it ends with rebounding.
Okay, another question from Joe Reedy with AP. You mentioned last night, but where did your idea of the pre-practice dance party come from?
Well, with this group, part of everyone talks about their learning as a young group and how there's so many new players that are going into this, but guess what? It's also about my learning about them. And Tuke, you've talked about how, just what we've learned from the Pac-12 tournament. I think it's really important for me to be intentional about bringing joy and having them smile. And, I gave them the option last night to watch the game proceeded, that was before us, or not, or keep on their routine, and to really trust them in their own process that way. But I really said, hey, if you guys want to have dance parties in the locker room and that's what gets you to be at your best and focused, then go do it. And I think I saw something with Calipari yesterday when he talked about if you're relieved after a win, you're not getting this in terms of what this is all about. And I don't want them to play tight. I want them to play free. I want them to play focused, and I want them to play with great gratitude and joy. And so I could just sense that I just wanted to start practice off that way. I wanted to have them. We talk about the moments and how we handle moments of pressure, and I just thought it would be a good thing to have them smile and to do it that way. So it's really about learning my own team and what they need from me as a leader.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Well, you guys are easy today.